So we like women to know their place and girls to know their place. And so in the context of sport where you could really see if somebody's doing better than others, they're getting more opportunities, that sort of thing. But I think that's why I can see it more readily than in other places where maybe the hierarchy isn't as obvious, or the distinction between who's doing better and who's doing worse isn't as obvious.
Do girls do this to each other in other contexts too? The I don't know, most academically successful girls, or the girls who are most popular with the boys, or what are the other hierarchies that girls will try and
So we do it in all contexts. We absolutely do, but it is a little bit more subtle. Again, I think in sport reveals character. You're kind of raw. You're exposed in a lot of ways. So I think it's harder to self-regulate those emotions, but it absolutely happens. So I'm a university professor. I primarily work with young women. I see it there. It's really interesting how competitive they are with one another. And so like the bulk of my work as a professor is really making sure that we support each other and that we don't create these hierarchies and these cliques, and really getting them to understand and buy in that if we work together, we will go further than if we, peg ourselves against each other. So that is like, I work so hard on social emotional in my lab and in the context of being a soccer coach. That's where my energy goes, instead of tactics or teaching them how to run analyses. Like, I'm just trying to get them to all manage this inherent competitive streak that they seem to have, and just work towards a common good and a common goal.
To what extent are girls and women... Okay, so sticking with girls for the time being, because I want to talk about how things change as we get older, but just thinking about girls, to what extent do they even realize that they're doing this? I'm thinking back to when I was at school, and I'm remembering a girl who was in my sports team, and she was really great. Like, she really was the best athlete, and she wasn't very popular. And my memory was that it was because she was annoying. I don't remember anyone ever expressing resentment at her being so successful or whatever. I don't remember ever feeling that way. But were we kidding ourselves? Was it actually that we were just resentful because she was really good?
So it depends what you value. So if you identify as an athlete and in that sport domain, and she's exceeding and excelling, and you're not, and you want to, and that's what you value, then that's going to be a problem. But let's just say she was a basketball player. I'm like a solid 5'2.5". There's no way that I'm going to even spend my energy on a comparison with her, because I'm never going to excel in that sport. It's just not my domain. So I could let her have it. I could be generous, but it's when you value it, and it's when you want it, and then somebody's in a sense thwarting your ability to get what you want, or that perception that they are because they're doing better than you are, then that engenders jealousy. And then that jealousy has to be managed, because that's how you maintain your self-esteem, right? So like, if everybody who you compared yourself against and you didn't meet the measure, they were always higher than you, that would really challenge your self-esteem. But we tend to, on average, have good self-esteem. And the way we manage that, and the way we maintain high self-esteem, is to manage these social comparisons. And we'll even go down the road. So let's just say, Louise, you and I are both like very good soccer players, and we play very similar position. And I'm going to let that one go, because I'm going to then go down the next little category. And the next category is, well, I think I'm whatever better than you on this category. And then now I've just kind of repaired myself on how I felt icky about that other part. So we tend to go down the road until we find something. So for example, as an academic, I've been pretty successful. I've published a lot. I have a lot of grants. I have a lot of great students. I've done well in this domain. But sometimes I meet women that have done better than me. And I'm a competitive woman, and that sometimes bugs me. And the way I usually repair it is like go down the list. Oh, well, she doesn't have as many kids, or, her area of research is a little bit easier to get published in, something like that to fix it. And I'm like acutely aware of this, and yet I'm still doing it. And the mental calculation is so quick. Like I'm doing it on the spot, on the fly, and then I'm feeling good again. So at first I'm not feeling good, and then I've done some repair work, and now all is good again.
So it's not something that we can really train ourselves out of.
I think we could train ourselves out of not making the social comparison so readily, and be more generous and allowing, people to excel. So we have like this perception a lot of times, and it's not just a perception. There's some truth in it. There is resource scarcity when it comes to women and girls, right? So historically, we haven't had as many opportunities. And so we've been fighting for more limited resources. And how do you get past that, the fact that this has been going on for generations and generations?
And I guess some of these things are sort of positional goods. So there's only one best soccer player on the team, right? There's a degree of competition you can't get rid of.
Well, like when you look at team sports in particular, there could be multiple really good players because there's different positions that are occupied, but there's only 11 starting positions. So it's a zero-sum game embedded within a team culture. And that's hard. So again, when I said I like do a lot of work on social emotional with the girls, because remember, I'm coaching the girls that are going to go on and play in the Olympics. I'm coaching the girls that will represent Canada in a World Cup. And so their dream is to get to the top. And I'm a caretaker of their dreams. So I'm really trying to get them to sort of manage their emotions so they can be the healthy and performing well. But the truth of the matter is, Louise, if you're a better left fullback than I am, you're the one going to the Olympics before I am.
I don't even know what that position is, so I think you're safe for now. But
you know what? It makes me like you more that you don't, because then now I don't feel competitive in that domain against you.
So you talked about managing the girls' social and emotional health. What does that look like? What are the sort of things that you're telling girls who are going to be struggling with these competitive feelings?
Well, like there's a lot of things I talk about. So one of them is I talk about managing their social comparisons and to not be hyper competitive and to focus more on competing to excel. So instead of me comparing myself always to you, compare my performance to my performance and try and get better. Like I could be motivated by somebody being really exceptional, but really like if I spend my whole time ruminating about them, I'm not going to be successful. So really focus on yourself and how you can better yourself. The other thing they could do is like work on their perfectionistic standards. So perfectionism is really problematic. There's nothing actually positive about it. It's portrayed positively because it's, in a sense, confused with conscientiousness, but nobody's ever had a perfect game. Nobody lives a perfect life. Nobody is perfect. So quit trying to achieve perfection. It doesn't exist, and be generous with yourself when you're just learning and you're going to make mistakes. And then the next thing I always emphasize to them is like, what is your end goal? So if your end goal is to play for Canada, the United States, the United Kingdom, well, I guess it would be England. And, if that's your end goal, know that today isn't going to be the determining factor of tomorrow. It's not this perfect linear process. Today is going to determine it to some extent, but today you're working out the kinks. So like really be brave in the moment. So sometimes, for example, some girls will just focus on their right dominant foot because they want to be successful. But if they were brave and developed their left foot, they would be going further. But in the immediate, they need to be perfect. In the immediate, they need to be the best. But if they could just let that go and think about what's my end point, and then work towards that end point, then you could be brave, then you could be creative, then you could develop in a way that you wouldn't necessarily develop if you did it the other way, and then you will succeed in the end. So just keep in mind that getting to the top is messy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And what do you do as a coach if you see, how do you protect the tall poppies when you see them being torn down?
So I make sure we celebrate everybody's successes. And I also role model humility and the acceptance of mistakes. I do that as a professor. I do that as a coach. So I just make sure that we all recognize that. And then I also make sure that they manage their social comparisons. So at the end of the day, I make sure that they understand that, okay, so maybe this kid got called up to the senior national team, but that doesn't mean that you're never going to get there. So let's just be generous with this today. Let's celebrate her success and let's work towards getting you there as well.